well, with it being 5:30, we'll call the January 13th meeting of the Public Works Committee to order. Adam, the roll call, please.
Schrader.
Here.
Kane.
Here.
Gallows.
Here.
Liddicoat.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. We would entertain a motion to approve the agenda for this evening as distributed.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Public communications and comment? I see none. All right, so next item on the agenda. We need to approve our meeting minutes of July 15th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. We have 5 discussion items this evening. First item being City Hall HVAC control review. Mike?
So, in the capital plan, we added $125,000 to upgrade the HVAC control at City Hall here. And with that, we decided to, Adam put together an RFP and put that out for bids. We did receive one bid from J&H, which is our vendor that maintains the item, maintains the building here for the HVAC control. In your packet, there was a lot of information in there. I know J&H went through the building, probably took them 3-4 days. So I have a lot of confidence in them bringing us up to where we need to be on there for the system. So what we would, if you got any questions, I can try to answer them. So out of my scope a little bit here. But we're really just bringing the system with a control system to be able to have access to control even from outside the building.
Is it cost saving or what?
Yeah, he did put something in there, it's possible cost savings, yes, but there's a lot of maintenance that goes into these units to keep them up and running, and this should help a lot more equalizing also of the facility.
And you said they were here for how long?
I spent 3 days in here, going through everything and figuring out where everything needs to go. I had the quote from back in, we did this actually in July of 19.
So, and to take a step back too, so I think when this building was added onto and, you know, we didn't upgrade everything, we just sort of added on the police station, you know, 20 years ago. So using existing boilers, controls, what happens a lot of times is, you know, areas of this building compete against each other and then get offline and offset and become a challenge. I'm quite honest with you. The 4 employees that work in my office, I'm shocked that they still work here at times because the imbalance in the temperature controls in that office are brutal. It'll be 90 degrees or 80 degrees in that office in the middle of summer. And you walk into my office, it'll be 60, 70 degrees, beautiful. In the winter, you come back here, I mean, you sometimes may enter a council meeting, it's cold. And it's a constant battle with the controls. So Mike had a proposal, because that proposal was above the threshold required to authorize, to just accept, being $109,000 or over $25,000. We took a step back, let's do an RFP, put the RFP out, advertised it for about 3 weeks to a month. We had one submittal from J&H, so we met our obligation for bidding, and their proposal is $109,950 to install controls into the building that are, I think, accessible Wi-Fi. They can troubleshoot it from afar. I mean, Mitch EMS has an office right in kind of a main corridor. He jokes often how in the wintertime last year, J&H was here probably every other day because there was a piece of this not working, and so this is a goal to fix it.
I think the tag off that, and from a history standpoint, is we went on to the PD section, and everything was supposed to be updated. They decided to cut that off and just add the police station on and not update any of the rest of the facility. So here we are, 20 years later, trying to get back to where we were in 2002.
So you have two separate control systems right now in this, neither of which works worth.
They fight, like you said, they fight each other. The water system, I had a rebalancing of the water system done. I had the data brought from down below, hoping we can correct some of the stuff. But it's just, it's more than just that.
Okay.
So none of the local HVAC people wanted to bid on this? Did you ever hear from them, or?
No?
Yeah, we posted it in the paper for 2 weeks, distributed it online as well, so.
So they've been doing the maintenance for years here, right?
That's my understanding. I mean, they're from Hvac, so they are fairly local.
Okay.
They know the facility well.
And that's one of the reasons why we did do the RFP, to open it up, and there just was no other interest in it.
Would we ever call them though and say, you guys have any interest? Because maybe they didn't see it at all.
I believe we've had conversations with them. I don't know, Mike, what you did.
They've
But
done stuff here before. It was posted in the Ripon paper, so.
The reason I'm asking is, one of them takes care of our bank, and we have a similar problem. We have 4 different units, and they fight all the time. And we have a boiler system down on near the floor, all around, and it's a battle, but they figured it out. They tweaked, and it got done. It still gets weird once in a while. Same issues you talk about. It'll be 90 degrees in one corner of the building, whatever time of the year, and it'll be 34 somewhere else. And but I guess I just found them capable, and I'm just surprised that someone locally in town here didn't appear to have any interest, unless they didn't see it. I don't know. But.
Mike, the base price is $109,950. Says there could be possibly be an add-on for asbestos abatement. Are we aware of any asbestos issues in the?
I'm not aware of any asbestos in here, so we don't, they could run into something, but we don't know of any.
Okay.
The building's what, 1960?
there's asbestos somewhere, probably.
So anything's possible from back then. I think the additions, the pieces they're putting on, it shouldn't be a problem.
Right.
It's mainly just actuators, dampers, thermostats.
Controllers.
So,
Yep. So even, if you're got asbestos wrapped around the pipe, and you gotta disturb it, we'll probably have to do something.
yeah, then you can bag those you bag and there's not a problem.
Yep.
And they probably got somebody on hand, they should have someone on hand to do that. So it wouldn't be a big deal. Are they doing away with all the pneumatics?
Yes.
So your compressor goes bye-bye and that's why it's showing,
You know more than I do about it, probably.
they're gonna keep doing the maintenance every year on it?
They are monthly, we have a contract with them for $644 a month to
Yep.
maintain the building.
Yep,
And like Adam said, they're out here constantly, and they respond very quickly. So, you know, perhaps, and I can't speak for them, but maybe that monthly fee will go down, I don't know.
well, I saw something in here about the maintenance cost going down, and I believe it would have to do with the compressor going away, all the pneumatics, which is probably part of the problem of why you're getting everything fighting each other.
I don't
Because-
have that in this particular one, he must have included it in that packet he sent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. But those, you got the Belimo actuators now, I believe, which will be a lot tighter. I like the whole system. The ABB is a very good system. It's all very nice stuff. You should do away with your problems. I guess my question is they're just gonna keep they're maintaining the boilers now, I take it? And they'll just continue to do that, and are they,
Any troubleshooting still can be done
okay.
now instead of,
It'll be a little easier to do the troubleshooting.
yeah.
Are they gonna get, as far as the, I take it one's gonna call you, and do you have one where they're gonna actually get called, or is it, where does the alarm go to? 'Cause
There- Oh, for the new system?
yeah,
I don't know.
because you can decide how to do that. It can go,
Yep.
and it can go different places too. You can be notified on your phone, and then they can be notified too.
We haven't got that far into
Okay.
the weeds on it. You know, they could notify dispatch, and then a call out could go from there. I mean, there's many scenarios for that.
Okay. I'm good with it.
Any other questions or?
Yeah, I got just a couple more. What assurances do you have that they're gonna make it all perfect? What's their guarantee?
I didn't understand you.
What's the assurances that they make it all perfect? What's their guarantee? That they'll just keep coming back until it's straight, or?
Well, I'll manage the project and make sure we get everything that has been in there.
And I'm curious does this link at all to item C? City Facility Master Planning. Let's say you want to invest in this money and you think the taxpayers can afford it because it might last 20 years, but you might embark on a new building in 5 years. Seems like there could be a little bit of a contradiction with these two items.
Yes, so part of the reason why letter C is on the agenda too to discuss is that very concern that I have. Just coming in new and looking at a project like this. We are spending $110,000 in this building to fix something that needs to be fixed. It is a constant problem, and frankly, it affects more things than just, it affects employees. It's not a good situation. We could budget $100,000 every year for the next 10 years for this building and fix problems. And I just said this at the staff meeting yesterday. We'll come into this building in 10 years in this room and it'll look exactly the same. Okay? So prioritizing those things and looking at the longer term of this is what C is trying to accomplish to do. Some of these things we need to do to operate this facility in that time between, now and whenever this or other facilities get built out. So we don't know quite that timeline. This has been something that I think here in this particular building has been a challenge for 10 10 plus years. We did budget for it. So it has been an identified project. But yes, we don't want to continue to spend good money or after bad money or whatever the saying is. You know what I mean? We don't want, that's why we do need to plan this stuff out better. So, you know.
I think as we look at the other plans on here, and Adam and I had a discussion about this today, and I think he finally made a good point for to me, but, is we have a tendency to make all these master plans and planning and make a book on what we're gonna do, and then what happens to it? Yeah, nothing gets done. It never gets done. We gotta do something now, to get this up to date, and even if we make this master plan, it might not get done. It might be 10 years, it might be 20 years. It's not gonna get any cheaper, I can tell you that, than 109,000, and if it goes down, we got problems.
Any further questions, comments?
One thing, it does show $1,623 annually taken off your preventative maintenance. So, because of the pneumatics going away. And I don't know how many thermostats you have in here now, but they're looking to put 22 in here. So your fighting of the temperature will go away.
So it'll be zoned.
Right, it'll be zoned better, so it's a very, it looks like it's gonna
So
be
we
a very
don't
nice
just set it and
system.
forget it like we do now?
No, now you're gonna have people battling, the one in the sweater's gonna keep turning the temperature one way, and the one in the t-shirt goes the other way. So now they can duke it out to see what the temperature, because it will control it a lot better with hot water heat. And if you have the electric actuators on it, it's gonna, they do it right, it's gonna, you'll really be happy with it.
Anything else, Jeff? No, thank you.
Anything else on this topic? So this will come to council for approval?
Yes, we just, if there's a recommendation from Public Works Committee to take it to the council, we would like that.
We have a motion for a recommendation to take it to council.
So moved?
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? I would imagine this will be on the next council agenda,
You're
correct?
correct.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item, utility leak adjustment policy review, and I believe Mr. Jess is going to lead us down this path.
So since I've had my position or taken over it, there's been many occurrences where a leak has caused a high bill for a customer. And that's due to the infrastructure inside of their house, not things that the city is responsible for. And there has never been a set protocol or policy to kind of negotiate when somebody wants to, I guess, argue or dispute their bill or the accuracy of their bill. So what this policy does is it kind of gives the customer a one-time forgiveness based on their situation. And I guess there's certain rules that have to go into it as far as being able to qualify for the forgiveness. They're all kind of laid out in this document here. And my hope is that when customers do have a grievance or something like that, they have this one opportunity to forgive their bill, but it also brings attention to the plumbing fixtures inside of their homes to pay attention to that more, so that way this issue doesn't happen again. And as far as me and the billing clerk, it just lays out a set procedure on how to handle these, whereas in the past, there hasn't been a procedure, and some people's bills have been forgiven and some haven't. And so my hope was just to make everything consistent from here on out with this policy.
Questions for Jeremy?
One question from me. For rental properties, you're saying the tenant's responsible for the normal consumption portion of the bill. And if we're looking at this as like a legal document, it should probably say if they pay the water bill, if the water's included,
Sure.
we should probably have something in there like that, just to keep problems from going away, or having any problems, I should say.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Some renters may not be responsible for their water bill. then.
Right, and that would then there's no problem there. So other than that, it's very nice to do something like that and give everybody a chance to fix their running toilet, which will cause a lot of water to go down the drain.
And just to your point, yeah, we can add at the end of that first section of, if they are required to pay the utility bill, with the tenant. And then in this, one of the reasons this, we brought this forward was there's a current example of a landlord and a tenant, and the bill is a $3,000 bill from a leaky toilet. And that tenant, who's likely paying $700-800 a month for rent, in an older house, has a $3,000 bill that, from a toilet leaking in a basement that they had no idea. And the property owner, in this case, in this policy, would be responsible for maintaining their property. So I think that's an important standard and distinction to make here.
Yep.
With this policy. You're not just pushing it all onto a tenant who is doing what they can, and a property owner that may not be doing everything, as a landlord that they should. So, Jeremy kind of researched this and we went over it, and I think it sets us up for, literally billing quarterly as well. Some of these bills get to be very high. And so working with people is the goal. And a lot of times when, you say no, and it's a $1,500 or over $1,000 for a bill, and that's significant. If we can't waive water based on PSC, but certainly adjusting it down is helpful.
So is there, and a nice job of this too, I liked what you did, but you can put the sensor on or whatever you do on the water so they can read it now, from afar, not walking around the house anymore. Is there such a thing as an affordable meter sensor that you could attach that would alert the landlord or the tenant too that this quarter you're exceeding 20% of your high in the last 8 quarters? So somebody might get a warning right away, there's a problem here. I'm sure there are. It's a question of the affordable, right? That's the problem.
The technology is out there to a point. Ultimately, I think the way water meters are moving is to be driven by Wi-Fi, and then you can actually, you look at your usage, right? But the city is not there at all. We don't even have all water meters that are radio reads yet. So I think fast forward 10 years, I think it'll be there. But currently, no. But we also it would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars in implementation of programs and technology to do that. So, billing quarterly is when we see it. And
well, no, I hear you.
Yeah.
I figured you'd say expensive, but if it ever gets more affordable, it could be something you might actually make revenue on it. if you figure out your costs installing and monitoring, and it's optional for the homeowner or the landlord, but you say, listen, not to have that $3,000 bill once in a while, you're gonna give us an extra $100 a quarter, and we're gonna help you detect the leak, so, in the future, yeah.
Yep, in the future, that would be good, yes.
It'd be awesome.
But we still have very many manual read meters out there that even haven't been replaced, so it might be a while.
Gotcha, thank you.
Any other questions? Comments? I would imagine you would need a
Similar to the.
motion of recommendation
Yep.
to have this ratified by the council.
So move.
Thank you, Jeff. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to move this forward to council. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And I would again imagine this will be on the council's agenda in the very near future.
It will.
Very good. All right, our next item for discussion, city facility master planning request for proposal review. And I believe, Adam, you're gonna talk to
Yep,
us
I can talk about this quick. So basically, I touched on it briefly when we talked about the HVAC controls, but one of the things we had talked about and putting in the budget was doing some planning efforts. This is one of those, we'll be also at Parks and Rec reviewing one for planning services for parks. So this document, Mike and I work together to, we'll issue, the idea is to issue the RFP to get proposals from consultants to then do master planning for City Hall and then Public Works. I believe Public Works Garage was built in 1957 and probably hasn't been touched since then. And then City Hall, obviously newer, and it's been remodeled and added onto. But certainly areas are showing its age, and the overall goal is to look at both of these and begin the process of identifying projects, priorities, and eventual replacement. Kind of getting grasping an idea what it's going to cost, because at this point, these are two big things that I've identified as big projects for the community that are hanging out there that if we don't start to grapple or plan for, we'll have bigger problems than spending $100,000 on an HVAC system. We'll be continuing to pile money in year after year. So it's more or less just get this out there to consultants and see what it will cost to get it done. And beyond that, we're just looking for any input into it. And if we can get authorization to issue it, that's fine. If not, we can still do that and bring you back proposals from firms when the deadline has passed.
Comments?
So all you're looking for now is you're going to put out for bid.
Basically, yes, we can issue this, and all we're looking for is just any input into it ahead of doing that from this committee, as you will eventually review. And if there's anything else you want to see added to it, we certainly can do that. Obviously, there may be more cost, but yeah, I mean, we just wanted to let you guys know we were doing it first and foremost, and get any input ahead of issuing it so we don't miss anything and surprise somebody later.
So if I can just mention a couple things. Again, nice job of this, you guys. But under scope of work, first bullet point, constraints and receive direction regarding facility-specific requirements. That's good from a standpoint of, Mike, you may have a wish list, what's the best thing I could use down in Public Works? Adam, you up here, police chief over there. But would you want to also maybe ask them to say, a city our size, you, the consultant, tell us what do cities our size typically spend, look at for different levels of services. You want a bare bones low budget this, do you want a Chevy, or do you want a Cadillac? You know, let them come to us and say, here's what these things should cost and what cities today are utilizing to provide good services for taxpayers and have good workforce, you know, places for people to work at, you know, that kind of thing. So I just throw that out there, and then under deliverables, that last sentence, the final plan put forth for acceptance shall be completed in such a way it can be fully integrated with other plans and initiatives adopted by the city. Well, wouldn't that require them to review all city assets, not just these buildings, if there was a connection?
It, more or less that's like looking at the master plan, the strategic plan, to making sure that, you know, there isn't guidance in there already that, you know, or ideas, or, you know, so to not repeat. Really, you know, and also presenting something that's ultimately in our process for, say, budgeting, realistic. So they're not coming to us with the Cadillac that that we'll never ever be able to afford. Mm-hmm. So I think you know, the idea there is to make sure that it can be, it's not a plan that is just put on a shelf and never able to be used again, because it's so unrealistic and does not coexist with our other priorities. Mm-hmm. We can't sit here and say, let's do a similar thing with parks, and let's spend $1 million a year for parks, and then also in that same year spend another $2 million on these facilities. You know what I mean? That would be, so integrating them all together so that there's not, you know, a clash or just an inability to execute is kind of the goal with that line. So. Yeah.
Have you heard of any cities this size doing something like this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yes. You know, there's a similar document for parks, and so I know, you know, communities with aging infrastructure, counties, you know, larger cities, it always starts with a plan, you know, generally speaking. You know, in particular, you know, if you think that Mike and I were just like, hey, we're gonna just sit down and type this.
No,
this is generally, you know, it's fit into our scope of kind of what we're thinking, but it is something here in particular with these two main things that we got to get a hold of in other communities. I would say when they're doing this, are doing it with the intention of building something brand new, you know?
Okay.
I think our needs are great enough that we need to really process this stuff, because, you know, a city garage, just guessing numbers wise, how much? I don't know. You know, a city hall remodel or rebuild, guess how much? You know, they're both coming due. So, so that's the goal, is just to get them on the board, because right now all we're doing is punting on them year after year.
Yeah.
instead of actually saying, you know, by 2025 we need to, you know, do that, or by 2035 we need to do, you know, it's just a little, it puts a target out there that, you know, we're working toward, versus just kicking it down the road.
And what Adam's saying about the parks is, you know, that we're gonna do the same thing, RFP for certain parks. Now, Murray Park is kind of already set, but we're bringing that to the table also to do some master planning, so we have some direction to go, because if you look at our parks, the play equipment is at get into the end of the life and many other things within those parks, whether it's pavilions or whatever, you know, things like that. So we have to have some type of goal, and we have to set money aside possibly year after year to achieve these goals of upgrading a lot of this stuff. So this is the baseline, or the base.
And frankly, Jeremy knows best. They just went through this whole entire thing with the water utility. They did a whole master plan, and it has identified the deficiencies, the needs, the projects, and the capital improvement plan over the next 10, 15 years of what we need to accomplish. So this is using that same model across these other areas that are you know, needing attention.
So as far as, are you aware of any programs within the state that would help fund something like this?
Generally speaking, no.
Okay.
The parks, when we look at this, you know, to execute these types of plans, these are going to be on us. Because generally speaking, you know, CDBG programs, stewardship, all these, you know, they'll fund parks, they'll fund road projects. They will not fund your new police department building. That's on you. Your new city hall is on you. Your new public works garage is on you. I mean, there may be some EDA funding or some other, you know, economic distressed area funding that you could attempt to get. But ultimately, to be honest, these are the two ones that have been on the hook the longest, because we're going to have to likely pay for it all. And so, so not necessarily. And we did put $20,000 to $25,000 in just the general fund to assist with these costs for the year. So the goal is to have the parks and this come in together at the same time, and then kind of go from there to see what the overall cost is to, you know, to get this planning done.
And then we can plan smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If the parks come back really high and the parks, you know, we'll cut out a couple things and, you know, so on and so forth, so.
And, you know, if we have a plan and there's opportunities along the way for funding, and we already have a
Right.
plan, we can grab them.
Yep.
And that's the perfect, I mean, and that's ultimately, right now, if there was an opportunity for funding, we would be starting from nowhere. You know, so I mean, doing the work ahead of time often unlocks a lot of doors for funding in the future. So.
Any other questions, comments? Are you just going to then issue this RFP, or?
We can issue it if you're all good with it. All good? We'll bring you the results someday in the future.
Okay. Very good. Next item, the LRIP grant application update. Adam?
So I did have a resolution on your table. So we did submit this document. You had a kind of a condensed version of this, but this was submitted to the DOT this past week for the local road improvement program. That program offers funding of granted anywhere from 50 to 90% of eligible expenditures. The city identified the project on St. Wenceslas Street as the project for application this year. You can kind of read the reasons kind of why. In this particular project, there are safety concerns. There's connectivity, there's community impact, and overall economic impact, and then the general failing infrastructure on the street. So you can see here, you know, on the picture, it's in pretty rough shape in areas. And then you can see that obviously there's kids walking in the middle of the street. So all this kind of stuff gets submitted to the state, and they decide how worthy it is for funding. We hope to get it funded. We did submit also a budget that was put together. The overall project cost is about $1.017 million. Utilities are not eligible for the grant expenditures. So there is some water that will need to be replaced, but the remaining is pretty much grant eligible. We did submit letters of support from the college and the school district. I know Al had mentioned before talking and working with them, so we've had 3 meetings regarding Ingalls Field as well as this part and of this project, trying to identify what's best to apply for and how to design it out and work together. So they're obviously behind it. The city is trying to leverage their investments at that field and future plans to get this grant. It just frankly is a easier grant to fund at a state level when you have a community behind it and other impacts. So that was the approach we took. Here is the general plan that we had MSA put together. You can see there's the purple or pinkish here is storm sewer. You then have a walkway here on this side abutting the fence that's going to be added, and then a new sidewalk on this side. Improvements to the crosswalk areas here. The goal is in this area as well. I think is to have some landscape features and to really liven it up, and so the school and the college kind of take the reins on some of that extra stuff after we fix the road. And then water utility starts here down by the blue, and then you have this second section here of the roadway. You're adding appropriate crosswalks in areas, as well as the potential of turning it to a 2-way street again. So we'll have to talk about that eventually, but and you see kind of the overall design. There would be no sidewalk on this side, on the north side, I think, no, east side, but there would be sidewalk on this side up to the school's entrance here. So the road scored very poorly on the rating scale in terms of condition. The storm sewer there also was failing, and the safety concerns there was just a kid hit, during homecoming. So this area was identified, and this is the overall project that's submitted. So wanted to kind of provide you just a update on that, and then part of the Lrip application is a resolution authorizing the construction of bicycle and pedestrian facilities. So because we are adding a pedestrian facility primarily on that east side of the street, we do need to submit that resolution at some point to the Department of Transportation. So there are a few other things that we didn't include in here that are a little bit, like lighting, stuff like that, because they're not eligible. So those are the things that, we've discussed with the school and the college to say, yeah, if we get funding and you want to do that, let us know, and we'll make adjustments and make sure that gets done. But obviously, we can only do so much, and it all will depend also on level of grant funding. So if we get 90% of this paid for, that's pretty good.
So refresh my memory, Adam. Were we replacing the storm?
Yes.
So, and that's a good thing, because what we talked, I wasn't sure, but what we talked about was the house on
Right here.
second house that floods in there.
Okay.
When we get significant rains and goes across this property. So with knowing that, we can upgrade these to bigger size and start to get that water out there. Eventually, Highway 23, in some year that they decide to redo that, then that'll get tied into there, and that they'll need to take a look at and upgrade those also. So the whole plan kind of fits into, just by luck, that the guy came down by me this year and was saying that it floods in there when we get 4 inches of rain. So so there are some problems in that area also.
Whole area used to flood before there was turf
Oh,
there.
yeah, it was horrible. So how's it gonna impact property owners? And I know we got the church there. Are they losing anything, or are we Do we have enough right of way where we're not gonna?
We are shifting the
encroach?
road a little bit to accommodate, there will be no parking, you know, we are removing parking on the street.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, there are parking lots, and we will encourage, people to, you know, use those parking lots. These individuals here currently park on the street, kind of randomly.
Yeah,
So there will be impacts if we go to a two-way. But ultimately, the request for the two-way traffic was from the school and the college.
Yeah.
They feel that that's a better, safer thing, and you know, I frankly, I mean, I wouldn't doubt that many of these people go the wrong way down the two-way to get to their house.
all the time.
But, and we'll communicate that, but we didn't put sidewalk through here, we did not, you know, we understand that, so we'll have to have those conversations, and this is just preliminary, this isn't final,
Okay.
we'll have to change ordinances and things with one-way streets, so, but, this is the kind of concept based on feedback and the issues we've seen.
Did you say this was already submitted?
The resolution was not.
No, I mean,
Oh, that was, yes,
Oh,
someone,
okay.
if I made a mistake,
I
sorry.
found a couple, sorry.
It's fine, they don't read it anyway.
Is this resolution coming to council?
Yeah, with a recommend, if we can get a recommendation to take it.
Okay.
So we'll,
We have a motion and a second for the authorizing the construction of bicycle and pedestrian facilities on St. Wenceslas Street. Resolution to move forward to council. Any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Any further comments or questions regarding the grant application?
I just think it's gonna be a great improvement, because it's, I mean, the photos don't do it justice with how beat up it is, so.
Been that way for a long time.
At least the last 10 years.
Long overdue. Get fixed.
Well,
think
good.
What Adam made a good point too is if you think about this project, is how long this project is it 2.5 blocks?
Yeah.
And we didn't have water or sewer in it?
Not as much as you would normally need, yeah.
It's $1 million.
It's amazing.
Not cheap.
Nothing is.
You apply that across the city,
Talking real money.
All right, the final discussion item tonight, the 2022 capital projects. And is that you, Adam?
I don't know, is it?
I think so.
Well, okay, so St. Wenceslas is the priority right now. Depending on if we get grant funds, so on and so forth, we may have to pivot. So Mike and I have talked quite a bit about other road projects, other priorities. You know, we're not even gonna get into utility stuff, you know, I think generally speaking, you know, the priority is that project. And what happens if we get, instead of 50%, we get 60, 70, 80, 90% covered, all that does is it frees up more money to do other projects, you know, road projects. So the goal is hopefully at minimum to get 50% of that covered. If that's good, that's about one of the only projects we'll do. If we get 90% covered, we will have the opportunity to then, Mike's identified a couple other projects that may end up coming forward, so we'll bid those out too. So beyond that, I think Mike and I have talked, we'll be working on some bidding for concrete work. So we'll bring forward those things as spring comes on board. But really kind of getting back to making sure we're bidding things out, we're getting proposals, we're making sure we're getting the best price on public works projects is something we'll be doing, and then kind of frankly pivoting if we need to, because sometimes things don't always go our way, and but I think Mike has a good grasp on where the funds can go if we don't get a grant or if we don't get as much of a grant,
We have a
so.
good backup plan, I believe, that will satisfy some high-traffic areas that are relatively, compared to this, inexpensive. Nothing's inexpensive anymore, but compared to this, it would be getting some more mileage done and helping out some areas, so, and so we'll just go from there.
Okay. Thank you. Next item, project update, staff reports, anything?
You know, it's winter season, so one thing, if residents are out there and listening, you know, ensure we're doing our sidewalks, our portion of our sidewalks to stop the slip, strips, and falls, because we will be being proactive in that, starting. So we are going to take a proactive approach after the storm, and address those areas that need to be done. So I think it's important that we get that done, because we were going by complaint before, but now we're going to change and go to be more proactive. So all of our tree work, if you will, has been done and completed. From the storm, the removal of the trees, they're hauling the remainder of the chips from the grindings from the compost site this week. So that'll be cleared, so we have room to dump our snow in there. So I did talk to the contractor on those, and we'll circle back in spring if there are issues. He's willing to come back and tune up because it got so late on anything like that. That'll kind of take care of the tree thing. So what else do we have going on? There's a lot of planning, as you see right now, for the summer.
Thank you, Mike. Jeremy, anything further?
I guess not immediately, no.
Okay. Adam?
No, we're good enough, I think. We'll just, got a lot of stuff we're working on, so.
Okay. As always, if there are suggestions for the agenda, items to be placed on the agenda, you certainly can let Adam know. If you're afraid to do that, you can let me know.
If you're afraid to do that, you can let Mike know.
We will make sure, I'm just kidding. We will make sure that we get it on the agenda. Are there any agenda suggestions right now?
I'd just like to give Mike's department a little love for the quick response after the windstorm that we had. When I thought a tree was coming through our roof, even though we don't have any trees, when the power pole snapped. Alliant was there quickly, but then there were more trees that needed cut. We're not going to have many leaves to rake next year, but that was all.
I did not know about that till 1 o'clock that afternoon.
Oh.
Your neighbor called.
Oh, yes.
I go, what?
Yeah, I was out talking to Chief that morning. Instead of making lunch for my kid, I was like, I have to take care of something. You're in charge, Ryan. And the caution tape was up, and let me tell you, the rumors that get started about a little bit of yellow tape, everyone's like, what's going on? Was there a fire? So, but it was very quickly.
So I think, yeah, that's appreciated, and hopefully they hear that. If not, I'll mention it in the morning. But
Yeah.
From the city's standpoint, the pine trees that are in Barlow Park are very nice. But they're so tall. They're like a palm tree with all the leaves at the top, and when we get high winds, they do snap. The trees that are close to the property lines have snapped and fell onto the neighbor's property. While it's typically not the city's responsibility to clean up other people's property, I think things like this, we need to take care of our stuff. And that's why I forgot his name, your neighbor.
Pete,
Pete,
Yeah.
thank you. I should know that. He doesn't need to do anything, we'll take care of it. And I sent the crew in the next day, so I'm glad nobody was hurt, but Adam and I are talking about that area of concern and, you know, while we got a lot of trees to take down in the city, a lot that are dead or dying.
Yeah.
That can be a problem in that area. So we don't have a plan, but it's in our.
That's why we got that forestry grant, Mike.
It's in our mind.
so next time if there's really big trees to take down,
Don't-
we raked our whole yard and then that tree shed all of its leaves and then they cut it down the next day. So, yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, we got a chuckle out of that because we're like,
Told you we would get to
we have
it.
hardly any trees. We don't have to rake a lot of leaves. And
It's the west wind.
So, but yes, and everyone I've talked to on our block is very appreciative. So,
Yep. I appreciate that and I'll make sure the guys know.
yeah, please do.
Thank you.
Any other suggestion for agenda items this evening? Again, if you think of something, please let Adam know, or feel free to give me a call and I can make sure that we get those things moving forward. So we undoubtedly will need to meet in February,
Yep, I believe we'll try to, yeah.
and we can maybe have Karen work her magic and get something that works for everyone else on the committee. So with that being said, we need one last motion for the evening.
Oh, second.
Have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
6:27.